Welcome to What Matters Most.
We are dedicated to educating the community about holistic, metaphysical, and spiritual topics.
Each week, we discuss things that matter most in life, the things that are most important to you that may have fallen to the wayside.
We are always centered on the idea of simplifying life, connecting with our neighbors, and following our true paths.
Our mission is to empower you to live the life that you've always dreamed of living.
We invite you to focus your life on what matters most. Welcome to What Matters Most. I'm Kristen.
And this is Maria.
From Experience Nirvana, and today we will be speaking about Humanities' awakening to extraterrestrials. Later on in the show, we're going to have Charis Brown Malloy, who has written a book called Journal of a Starseed, which you can actually find in our Living Well store. And it's kind of about her awakening to...
her contacting, or the fact that she's been contacted
by ETs, extraterrestrials or aliens or whatever you want to call them. So it should be a very interesting show.
Yeah, and I think what's also very interesting about it is that people at this point in time have become very aware and acceptance of communicating with maybe spirit guides or angels, even deceased loved ones. But the openness and the reception to a contact with an alien, I think, is still somewhat of a taboo, or maybe even very, very fearful.
Well, I think a lot of people know that. I think a lot of people are aware and accepting that, yes, there are aliens, and there's been so many different sightings, even Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. That is a great show for people to watch. That gives you so much in-depth knowledge about different aliens and different things that they've done on the planet. But there's been so many new things coming out about them coming out of volcanoes or coming out of the water, or so I think it's becoming a more and more occurring thing.
Yeah, it would be good to know as we move forward, like if they're going to actually present themselves to us, and are people just going to become more receptive with that? Because there's been so much negative publicity. Think of all the movies that are out there, always portrayed as being
always scary.
They're going to take over. They're going to blow up the planet. They're going to utilize humans for experiments and all of that. And I think, as Charis has mentioned when we've spoken with her, that there are good and bad aliens, but they're not all bad, and a lot of them are actually here trying to do something good and help us out in our ascension process.
And I think it's interesting that a lot of times you hear the government is trying to cover up their existence. With different people, different professionals that we've spoken to in the past, it sounds like whenever there is some kind of extraterrestrial event, the government is always quick right behind it trying to cover it up, and so that so many people don't even acknowledge or even know of their existence. But I think more and more people are awakening to it, and I think eventually I think people will I think they'll either present themselves to us, or maybe whatever is to unfold in the future with the Earth's ascension and all of that. I think it will become quite clear that we're not alone.
Absolutely. Think of the fact that, it wasn't that long ago we did a segment on crop circles.
Right.
And, at some point in some of our preliminary conversations that we had with Charis, she went into a little bit of detail about the crop circles and the Jennifer Stein went into a lot of detail about crop circles. Right. But Charis actually mentioned to us when we were talking to her that crop circles were actually an infusion of almost like the way you would visualize if you're familiar with Reiki,
on a room, or
energetic healing, like symbols being placed on the planet to help in the continuing nurturing of it.
So I guess they're putting them on the planet to help heal us.
Yeah.
To help us keep moving forward.
Yeah. I know I, for one, would not want to be contacted by an alien.
Well, you're a scared cat.
Oh my goodness gracious. I'm okay with spirit guides and angels and all of that kind of stuff, and deceased family members.
What Charis is saying is they are all aliens.
Okay,
I'm
not ready to accept that yet.
I think it would.
Sorry, Charis.
No, I think it would be really interesting. I think it would be really interesting to be contacted. I mean, I think for anyone it would be scary. I know even Charis had mentioned to us that she was a little taken aback, and everybody kind of gets freaked out when you get, I guess, you know, if and when you get contacted by them. But I think it would be really interesting. I'd like to be taken away. I'm done with here.
Oh, where are you going?
So on that note,
Where are you going, little one?
anywhere. I'm tired of the rat race, the money, you know, nobody works with each other. I just think it's the way we've evolved, I think has really ruined our society.
Yeah, but I think each planet has its own challenge.
Of course, but
Yeah.
I'd rather not be here.
Yeah, okay.
So on that note, we're going to go to a quick break. Stay tuned. You're listening to What Matters Most, and coming up is Charis Brown Malloy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to What Matters Most. We're here with Charis Brown Malloy. Charis was a normal student in college during her awakening, and as she received 2 master's degrees in health and psychology, she was leading quite a double life, talking to angels, learning esoteric arts, and becoming aware of the extraterrestrial presence. Journal of a Starseed is the book she wrote, and which was a first-hand account of her journey through a spiritual awakening and then discovery that she was a contactee. The book is her coming out of the closet in an effort to educate curious individuals about the esoteric and cosmic aspects of the human experience, as well as to diminish fears that run rampant during an initial spiritual awakenings. So, welcome, Charis. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Charis.
Hi, great to see you guys.
You too.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, at what point, I mean, obviously you've been on this little bit of a spiritual journey, all of this was going on while you were in school, and then at what point did you realize, wait a minute, I am not talking to what I thought initially were my spirit guides or angels or family members or whatever. I'm talking to people, aliens.
Extraterrestrials.
Yeah, it was a jump, that's for sure. It's interesting to see where people draw their paradigmatic barriers, because even though a lot of people are now okay with saying, okay, well, we talk to angels, well, we have spirit guides, the extraterrestrial thing still kind of pushes a lot of people, and they go, okay, well, I don't think that that is actually true. And I was one of those. I mean, I didn't think that ETs were not around. I knew that they were because I'd had a couple of other funny things happen, which are documented in the book. But one of them is, for instance, I drove under what seemed to be an anvil cloud. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I read it. I was reading yesterday.
It was ridiculous because we go under it. We're on this long road trip, and I was sleeping because I had taken the night shift, and then my husband took the morning shift. And he says, just as soon as you're finally drifting off, because it's hard to sleep in a car, and he says, I think you should look at this. And he never says things like that to me. So I take off my little eye cover thing I was using, and sure enough, there's this gigantic cloud that you could have knocked on. It looked so firm. And it had these holes on the front. It was terrifying. And our road, we were in the middle of Iowa highway, nothing around, no houses, no trees. And our road went right underneath it, and it was coming at us. And all I knew was that I didn't want to go under there. Some type of primordial fear was gripping me. And I'm not a very fearful person, but I was terrified, beyond terrified.
Oh my gosh.
And so we go under the cloud, and I'm flipping out quietly. And then all of the sudden, in my mind, I hear this clear voice that says, stay calm. And then it said something like, as calm as you are, that's how calm we'll be. And I had no idea what was going on, but I knew that I was going to follow that direction. So I laid back and I meditated until we came out the other side. After that, I started being really interested in UFOs and researching it and seeing the links between ancient technology and Hindu scriptures that tell you how to build a vimana, or a flying craft that were often round and saucer shaped. Well, not exactly, but kind of. And then months and months and months later, after I had heard that not only were they interacting long ago, but they interact now, and it's not always just, here, we're going to abduct you and probe you and put a bunch of needles in you and that kind of thing. It was also other stuff. One day I'm talking to a contactee friend of mine who, she knew she was a contactee, and I knew that she was, and I knew that I had probably been at some point, because I used to draw pictures of ETs when I was a child, and I'd never been exposed to anything that looked like that.
Really? Okay.
parents out. Yeah.
But
Uh,
Charis, can you
and-
explain what a contactee is? I'm sorry, because a lot of people don't
Sure,
know
sure,
what
sure.
that
Sure,
means.
yeah.
There's a difference between contactees and abductees. Abductees are the ones that get abducted. They get taken. It's scary a lot of times. They get fiddled with. Sometimes there are implants put in. Sometimes there's blood taken or medical procedures that happen. And although often, excuse me, not always, but often people say that they might have woken up and it wasn't painful. There wasn't any pain, but it doesn't matter if there are tubes going in and out of every orifice of your body. There's a bright light over you and there are aliens standing around you. You're going to freak out and it's going to be really traumatic.
Of
Oh,
course, yeah.
So that's the abduction people. Those are the abductees. Sometimes both meld in one person. A lot of contactees have been abducted as well, but I haven't in my memory. Now, it might have been wiped. Sometimes that happens. But I'm a contactee. And the difference is that I have never been taken up and abducted and scary things happen. What has happened is I've had direct guidance for as long as I can remember, although I used to kind of blank it out and think it was just part of myself or that I was just imagining things. But my spiritual awakening was when it became unignorable. And only recently did I discover that it wasn't just an angel and it wasn't just a spirit guide, which they usually aren't. In fact, I wonder if they ever are. Usually if people have angels or spirit guides, they're always ETs.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And if this is the thing, if anyone wonders or if there's anyone watching this and saying, that can't be mine, that can't be mine, just go into a meditation, call them in and ask. Just ask them. And that's a great way to figure it out because there's your answer right there, whatever you get. And so I was talking to my friend and she said, sometimes our guides, I was talking about a guide I had just been introduced to. Sometimes our guides are actually extraterrestrial contacts. And I was like, oh yeah, I know. But I had never approached the thought from my own perspective. And then as soon as I kind of let the question trickle down through my mind, there was this intense, visceral, physical yes that went through my entire body. I hadn't even had time to ask the question. And so then the next time I went into meditation, I asked if I could actually see what he really looked like. Because before he'd just been kind of blurry and couldn't really see him, but I didn't really care. I was getting the information, so that was enough for me. And he looked like a gray. He was about 7 feet tall, had tan skin, long skinny fingers, tall, thin guy. And only recently, very recently, as in the past couple of weeks, have I discovered that it looks like the rabbit hole goes even deeper. And that some of the contacts aren't exactly what they seem, but it's not in a scary way. But that's kind of, I won't even get into that now though. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, he's a gray, and a lot of times they are.
So a gray is one species of aliens. Is that correct?
There are a few species that are all under the category of gray.
Oh, okay.
Gray is the name, this kind of the slang name for the tall, skinny guys with the big eyes.
Yeah.
Ones who, they come in different sizes. Some of them are around 3 feet, and their skin is kind of a different color. It varies, so I'm not going to say which one it is. Some people see different things, but they're usually the ones that have to do with abductions. They'll come and get you and kind of like carry you, or either use some electronic or energy type of thing to carry you out of your house. They're the ones who do the medical experiments. Usually the taller ones are either directing the smaller ones, or they're the ones that are directly in contact with contactees.
Gotcha.
And Charis, are there aliens that have human form?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's get to that question when we come back. We have to go to a quick break. You're listening to What Matters Most, and we'll be right back.